We did this in December. We planted this in the third week in December.
Wow.
And here we are, 7, 8, 9 months later? I don't do math, but you know what I mean.
So today I wanted to talk about and show you guys the pollinator garden. The garden director, Richard Hayden, he is responsible for spearheading this garden and designing it. So I hope you enjoy this video, guys.
Because we lost the oak tree, which was like some 300-year-old oak tree. That gave us an opportunity. So, I think the tragedy of losing the oak was the idea that we suddenly had, we could create this new garden. And I wanted to do pollinators because that's what I knew from the natural history. And I also knew that it was going to be a great opportunity for us to create a whole new level of public engagement with school groups, and everybody's really into seeing all the different wildlife that we can establish right here in the urban environment of Gamble Gardens. We created this kind of dome shape because I knew I was going to need extra drainage because it's a lot of California natives. This is a cultivar called Holland Chickering. It's actually a hybrid between two native sages. It's just got the best fragrance too. It's got that chaparral-y kind of, savory mint.
Very California.
Yeah,
smell.
It is. There was a woman from UC Davis who had done a study on the best pollinator plants, and she discovered that salvias were by and far the best bee plants that you could plant. More bees were visiting salvias than any other plants in the UC Davis.
How did you go about designing the garden?
One of the big things too that you hear a lot, and it's something that came up this last weekend, is native versus non-native when you're planting for habitat. And some studies that Dr. Talamy did on the East Coast showed that if you had 70% native plants, you still were going to be able to support a lot of ecosystem, and you could have some exotics mixed in with that. But you need the native plants because a lot of times those are the larval hosts for butterflies and moths that are really important for sustaining things. So that's what I wanted to do here, was to do about 70% native. And the reason that I think you need some exotic plants is you need to you know, make an exciting textural garden, which you can't always do with just native. Like the kangaroo paws are just it's such striking foliage.
Oh no, they've been cut back. They were so beautiful.
There was one blooming there. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's still looking beautiful with the grass just cascading over
I
it.
love that plant. I love the aloes because I think it's great to throw in some succulents. Some people are really into succulents. This is an aloe called Cynthia Giddy. And it once it gets established, it's a year-round bloomer with this beautiful clear orange and that wonderful apple green foliage.
And this attracts pollinators as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great hummingbird plant. It's a woolly blue curls, but it's called Mountain Magic, and it's a hybrid between the Mexican and the native Californian, and it's a lot more garden tolerant, meaning that you're less apt to kill it.
Yes, because this plant, the native version, it dies so easily.
It does.
So it's more appropriate for a garden situation. It's more adaptable.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for growing this version and also the native version? Because it is really challenging and a lot of people love this plant.
Fast draining soil and just minimal water.
Yeah.
We had things down to, I think, what we were watering like every 3 weeks. Because we still needed to water during the summer. We couldn't just shut the water off. But you know, then there are other natives like this St. Catherine's Lake, Eriogonum giganteum from the Channel Islands. It just has such a striking foliage, first of all, with that nice, almost ghostly white.
Yeah.
And when this gets,
It gets very big.
It does get very big. But you know, I have a suspicion that the woolly blue curl may not be that long lived. We'll find out. We'll find out who wins. And then this is the winter. You know, it's finished flowering. These are the seed heads, and you still have a really nice color interest on this.
Beautiful.
Down south in LA, this was just an amazing pollinator plant. I didn't see as many things visiting up here as I did down south, and it may have just been the bloom time. A gentleman who does macro insect photography for a hobby, and he's been coming to Gamble for 3 or 4 years now. But he said that when we put the pollinator garden in, he was seeing new things, new insects, new bees he'd never seen before.
I really do like how you bring in not just plants that are flowering, but you also have plants that have blades.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice textural contrast.
You know, this is, I think, probably my favorite grass. You can't go wrong.
And what is this?
So that's Canyon Prince Wild Rye, Lamus condensatus. It's an introduction from the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden, and it's a selection they found on one of the Channel Islands. But the other reason the grasses are good for pollinators is because adult bees and adult insects need a place to hide overnight. So it provides a foliage place for them to bury down in. Fiery skipper butterflies actually use grasses as their larval host. So they'll lay their eggs, and we've had a lot of skippers in the garden this fall, so that's been great to see. I'm happy to go. I mean, look at that foliage, especially.
It's so striking. Wow. Is this evergreen?
I find it to be evergreen, and generally the easiest way to deal with it is every 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how lucky you are, and you need a refresh, and you can cut it down and it'll just regrow.
Oh, so just cut it down to the ground.
Up here in cooler weather, I'd wait till late winter to cut it.
Okay.
And then it will come back. And the flower on this had a tall spike, and it's kind of a chartreuse color.
Interesting.
So that chartreuse green with the blue foliage is really spectacular. So there's Lamus over here, there's Canyon Prince, there's Canyon Prince, there's Canyon Prince. So there is a kind of a little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah.
There's three St. Catherine's lace. There's one in the back. So I wanted to give the sense that there was this a little bit of flow. There's kangaroo paws there and there. watering, I think about every 7 to 9 days. Schedule gets set by the irrigation controller because it knows what the temperature is and all of that. But I have it turned up just a little bit. It would ultimately, knowing that these are mostly native plants, be watering something more like every 2 weeks. Great little grass. This little native fescue, Festuca idahoensis tomalis.
Oh, this is tomalis?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. It does not look brown. Idaho fescues look brown around this time.
Yeah, and it may be because it's getting a little extra water. And you notice it's the bottom of the slope, so hopefully that'll make a difference.
Yeah.
This bulbini has just been flowering literally since the day it went in.
It's great. It's
And
really...
it is just a bee magnet. Granted, it's mostly honeybees, but it's still really cool. 2 or 3 groups of this monardella. This is Russian River.
Yes.
Which you can just do a big... Butterflies love this.
And you have some larger shrubs here.
And
And Dr. Hurd has, I mean, it's a really popular...
One of the easier, more garden tolerant ones. And if you step in and just look at how beautiful that bark is right now with that light.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So once this plant gets a little more established, we'll probably trim it up a little bit and it'll be living sculpture.
Yeah,
And then of course, you know, you get the great flowers which the hummingbirds and the bees like. And then there's a toyon.
Oh yes,
Back there
toyon
getting
is great.
swallowed by the native aster. But toyon is such a great plant because it will take sun or shade. It has that nice kind of wine red stem. And then this will get those beautiful white flowers. It's a rose family plant. And you get great berries. This is what I call the be careful what you wish for plant. This is our native aster, Aster chiloensis. And
it's very successful.
it is very successful. This is the second bloom. We put this in December. It bloomed in January. And then we cut it back and it's blooming again now.
This is one that I have experience working with this plant, and it multiplies, it expands very quickly, and you really need to take control of it, dividing and digging out regularly.
Oh, we have our native Dutchman.
Oh, Aristolochia. That's gonna be beautiful when it really covers this fence.
Yeah, we hope so. I think it's happy here. And we put another one at the other end. There's actually a movement to plant Aristolochia and try to increase the range of our native pipevine swallowtail. Because theoretically, people say that this used to be part of its range. The pipevine's not growing here anymore. Lo and behold, there's an owl box. Hasn't been occupied yet. I'm just amazed at how fast everything is growing in.